things I think the essay is really interesting about is how it picks up on this question of tensions, both in the work that's there in the exhibition, but the tensions around kind of art schools and art experiences. I myself actually went to the University of Saskatchewan in the art department. I studied art history and did a minor in studio, and it doesn't sound that different from Winnipeg, as I said earlier. When we were there, I remember somebody coming around to somebody beside me and saying, we were in a painting class and saying, "That's Impressionism. It's only October. We don't get to that till March." And the fight at the University of Saskatchewan was not, we were very big abstract, because, you know, we had the M-White School and all that kind of stuff. The tension there was between the abstract painters and this very small group of people called the structuralists, who did three-dimensional sculptures of little squares of wood on surfaces. Anybody ever heard of Eli Bornstein? Yeah, you have, but you know, I mean, out there, structuralism, even though it's the right name and it became something else, we now think of, I say structuralism, you think of France, you think of theory. This was another kind of structure, so that was our little department tension about who would talk and not talk. But this question about, to go back to sort of more the art school experience, there are real differences, I think, between attending what we're referring to here as an art school, but in reality is actually an art department within a university, between that and the concept of an independent art school and design school, which OCAD and OCA, or whatever name it's going by at the moment, is part of that independent art school tradition, which means we're actually the biggest art department in Canada. I mean, there's 3,500 students. So things are very different, and the debates internally are very different in a place like that, because there's the debate between art and design, and that tension where design is working with many of the people who are going through design. Their faculty think they are graduating students who have specific professional skills, and then if you go out of industrial design and you go into an industrial design firm, our school is guaranteeing them that those students know how to do this, this, and this. And therefore, they have to do this, 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 they have to do that expansion studio, they have to do this class and draft. You know, it's a very complex kind of program. Where the art part of that is saying, we want to imbue our students with certain kinds of experiences. We don't know what they're going to come out with. But we're going to give them the they're going to give them the tools to allow their creativity to flow. Not we're going to give them the skills. So you have that tension manifest in curriculum, manifest in debates within the schools, and things like that. So that's one of the real differences in an art and design school. And OCAD is a bigger and lumpier version of this, but everything I've ever heard about NASCAD or Emily Carr or the Alberta College of Art, these things exist there in that same kind of way. The difference in OCAD is the design department is really big, when in most of those other schools, there's sort of tack-ons. Where at OCAD, it is the powerhouse of the school in many ways. And it is why we tend to get money, because we're graduating people who may become architects or may become industrial designers, which is easier to get money for than saying you're graduating performance artists. You know, it's true. It just works in a certain kind of way. One of the tensions at a place like OCAD that's very overt is we've gone through this process of becoming a university. We were the only art school that still gave a 4-year diploma up until 5 years ago. All the other ones were giving university degrees. So we've gone through in the last 5 years becoming a formalized university, which has all kinds of things attached to it. The most overt thing, and I can see there's two people here nodding their heads up and down, reading what I'm saying, is between the studio education and the broader notion of a university, which is you come out of there and you actually have all these other abilities to look at the world, like you need to have a math and a social science, you need to study the humanities. These are not like you're doing 10 courses and you're doing one. But the tension in resolving, taking a part of the curriculum and devoting to something that is not about making, but is about thinking and writing and between the part of the school that is manifest in the making part. And that's where the art and the design come together versus the liberal studies part. So you have another series of kind of tensions working their way through and out and doing there. And this comes up to the last version of it where we're arguing about whether our students should have minors. And the art department and the studio departments are arguing, well, yes, you can do a minor, but you still have to do 75% in a studio. Well, how can you do a minor if you have to do this breadth? You have to do your minor, and then you're still doing 75% of your courses in studio. So there's, and trying to work that out in a collegial way, you know, is complicated. We usually do it, and we usually get to consensus, but it's not simple. So there's those kind of tensions going on. The newest one we're dealing with is the introduction of graduate studies. So now there's this small group of people, 17 people, versus 3,500 or 33,000 in the student body, and they've got better studio space. They are getting these things that the undergraduate program isn't. Who gets to teach in the undergraduate program? Who is still teaching large classes in first year and can't get into these other things? Or so there's tensions within faculty between who gets into who's teaching in graduate studies, who isn't, the attention graduate studies gets because it's the newest thing on the block, versus, you know, the drawing program from second year. So what I've discovered is you do one thing and you get over that, and then there's another thing that comes up, and you're continually trying to resolve these different kinds of tensions. By and large, I think what I would say, to come back to the question which we talked about a little bit earlier, about the question of women and their role in the institution, once OCAD got past that first phase of women coming in and kind of larger things, it has by and large been a very congenial, and I think a better teaching environment than it was previously, which was a much more sort of competitive between departments, which tended to be very male-dominated, a lot of sleeping around with students. Nobody sleeps with students anymore. You know, it's just, those things have actually changed, I think, across the board in the university system also. So there is a place there for women. There's still tensions. I mean, that we see where we have a large student body, like in our new curatorial program, we have 5 students. They're all women. One guy, we asked a guy to come, but he turned us down. But you go and you look at the senior management of the AGO, I think there's one woman curator. I mean, the president. So, and you look at any of the major institutions out there, the upper levels are still very dominated. Although that's changed. I mean, and I think Canada is better at that than most countries. I mean, we have had directors of the National Galleries, 2, 3 women, you know. So we have shifted in that, and that's changed a lot. One of the things I think that is different about an art school, at least the one I'm at, because I don't have any real experience, is a kind of notion of a kind of democracy. Which makes for really long, drawn-out discussions, board meetings, council meetings, because everybody gets their say. And there is a less of a kind of hierarchy of who's allowed to speak and who isn't, which in the long run is great, but in the short run it has many lumps and grinds and conflicts and tensions that you need time to work out. And our problem is everybody's always coming up with a new idea about every 3 weeks. I mean, my big program right now is a moratorium. No new ideas, no new programs for 6 months. I mean, let's just try and do what we're supposed to be doing. Don't add anything new. Don't take away. Let's just do it for a while. So that's the kind of tension that I see where I'm working at